This is Audible.
Podium Audio presents Anathema, Book 1 of the Eating Woods, written by Keri Lake, performed by James Cassidy and Melissa Barr. This audiobook contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. Prologue. 211 years ago. Lady Rydainn held her infant son close as she approached the glowing vein that, only days ago, had been a snarling fissure of black fire that cleaved the ground. With the two moons nearly as one, the chasm of violent lava had hardened to stone, leaving only the flickering remnants of that sinister flame. It was almost time to harvest the igneous rock, but they weren't there for the bounty it held. They were there for the fire itself. The men who typically guarded the vein from thieves lay in diminishing piles of ash, their bodies and armor charred to useless lumps of soot that scattered in the wind. Burned alive by a flame so hot she could feel its radiance a half furlong away. Sable fire. An ancient element of the gods forged eons ago in Aetheria's fiery heart. A single touch could turn a body to ash and blood to stone. And she had arrived to offer up Zevander, her second-born son, to it. Not by choice, of course. Lady Rydainn would have sacrificed herself right there and then if it would spare Zevander from such a horrific fate. Unfortunately, the mage who'd demanded the exchange wasn't interested in her pittance of an offer. He wanted her youngest son, and nothing more. She forced herself to set her eyes upon the dark and corrupt soul, where he stood alongside her eldest son and husband, watching her every step from the edge of the vein. The man she'd come to know as the most dangerous mage in all of Aethyria. One of few who'd mastered the ability to control the otherwise chaotic sable fire and discovered a means to harness its deadly and divine power. He'd once been the king's highest mage lord, a member of the exalted magistrally, disgracefully dismissed on accusations of demutamancy, a dark form of magic decreed illegal by the king. Kadavros. The mere thought of his name cast a shiver down her spine. Yet she and her husband had been forced to make a Faustian bargain with him in exchange for protection against the Salesians who hunted their family, ruthless warriors known for their brutality and violence, enforcers who'd have made sport of their execution. In their moment of desperation, the reclusive mage had approached the Rydainns with an offer they couldn't refuse. A powerful protection spell against those who sought their heads in exchange for their firstborn's blood magic, a sampling Kadavros had claimed would be used in his studies. If only Lady Rydainn possessed the power to reverse time, she would have chided her stupidity, warned herself not to trust his lies, for what he'd taken from her eldest boy was far more than a sampling of his magic. Black, beady eyes, those deep, soulless sockets stared back at her, as if daring her to run from his ghastly form. There was a time he was said to have been handsome, but the dark and forbidden magic had taken a toll on him, sank its claws into his flesh, and twisted him into a wicked beast. From the top of his head breached long branching antlers with horns that curled back. Deep grooves etched into his hardened skin reminded Lady Rydainn of tree bark, the black pulsing veins beneath said to house small serpents trapped inside his flesh. Evil begging to be unleashed. His appearance was the result of having performed the Emberforge ritual on himself, the same ritual he intended for her son. A rite that only young children were believed to tolerate without any permanent disfigurement, seeing as they hadn't yet gone through their ascendancy. Beside the mage stood her husband and their eldest son Branimir, whose similarly protruding black veins and coarse skin marked the horrific deformities of her first sacrifice only weeks before, a sacrifice that had proven insufficient for the greedy mage when Branimir had suffered the same grotesque mutations as Kadavros's. Though far from puberty and his ascendancy into blood magic, Branimir had already begun the physical transitions before the flame had corrupted the seed of magic that had taken root inside of him. And while his resulting deformity